Quote from one of my favorite people. If it's not fun, it's not for me. Honestly, one of the reasons that I use events in my business, and I'll talk a little bit about my history on the next slide, I think, but realistically, clients don't want to just engage with people again and again and again in real estate. Most people maybe would use a real estate agent every 5 to 10 years, some 10 to 15. And so how do you continue to engage with people when you're not talking about the price of their home? It's daylight savings time, set your clocks back. Please do not ever send that, ever. Please don't. No one needs to know. iPhone does it for them. But you can reach multiple clients all at once. It's scalable. So one of the things that I find from people when I was with KW for a really long time, and there was this one agent, and it was like 10 years ago, and I do 5 coffees a week with one of my clients, and I just don't have that ability, to be honest, to set aside an hour 5 times a week to have coffee with one person. So how do I reach people multiple times a year without and doing something for them that is not just like do you want to have coffee? Because if your client, depending on how quick and how you've gotten to know them, it could be just as awkward for them as it is for you to sit there for an hour and have a conversation. So how do you make it more appealing and reach more people at once without putting yourself in an awkward phase and them in an awkward phase? And as much as I really love people, I really hate small talk. It's probably one of the things that just gives me the heebie-jeebies from the get. So make it interesting, give them something to come to that also is oh, it was great. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, I gotta go. I just got myself out of small talk. So creating a lasting impression, give people something to talk about, show off your personality. Don't try to do something don't try and do it if it's out of your natural instinct. We all love Pinterest and that's great. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but it should reflect you. So pick things that actually just naturally you're attracted to. It will come off easier for you. It'll feel more realistic and natural, and it'll just translate better to the people that are coming. It also does help to create a more intimate and personal relationship. Throw a couple of cocktails in someone, and you instantly become closer and having a more intimate conversation. And it gives them something to talk about. Going back to it, it gives them something to post about. It gives them a reason to be tagging you in their Facebook events or their stories. So that's something that you can do. They love me dearly because they actually got all into these pajamas and took a picture that I'm now spreading all over Northern Virginia. Before real estate, I grew up in Reston. My parents wanted me to be a school teacher. My mom was a school teacher. I went to Virginia Tech, and I was actually pre-med. When I graduated, I was going to American University for a baccalaureate program in biomedical studies. And although that really interested me and challenged my intellect, what I did realize is I did not want to be in the control of somebody else creating my schedule for 12 years or more. And so I think, anybody that knows me knows I don't really like to work for other people on a day in, day out basis. And actually before I got into real estate, when I left the med school track, I was working in restaurants. So I was doing fine dining and event planning, which I had done in high school. And then I obviously kind of just took it to a next level. So I was working for some 4- and 5-star restaurants in the Falls Church and DC area. And so then I thought, maybe I'll open up a wedding planning business. So going back to events, it does speak to a little bit of my interests, my outside hobbies, and just part of my creative side. I can't draw a stick figure for the life of me, but I love to put it together, the details of an event. So how I got into real estate is I was actually working at 2941, and I was recruited. I bought my first house at 23. I was working at 2941. And there was a Weicker managers meeting in one of the private conference rooms. And the guy asked me to see if I was interested. And I said, well, that's funny because I bought my house and I was thinking about taking the class, but I thought I was too young. So that was kind of a big regret. So I got my license in 2006 and loved it. But the first 5 years were pretty brutal. I've always loved working with people. So as my business expanded, I needed to connect with clients on a personal level, but also a scalable sized process. And that's where I came into events. Kind of going back to the last 5 years, I have a team of 2, and we've done 256 million in sales since 2019, 6.5 million in GCI. We have currently 4 admin. Piece by piece, 50% of our business in 2019 was Sphere. Generally, it's hovered between 50 and 70%. In the last 3 or 4 years, I have increased our advertising spend online, which is why you'll actually see the percentage decrease, but the amount has actually gone up. The amount of units from our Sphere and client-based referrals has actually gone up. So we do a lot of heavy online Zillow, Google advertising. Okay, so today, a couple of things that Melissa asked me to focus on were why I choose events. I think I kind of covered that. What made me start, how my event strategy has evolved. So I'm going to try and answer that through the rest of the presentation. If I don't, feel free to hit me up at the end and ask me more specifically. Talking about budgets and how we account for those. Do we handle different events for different groups, different sizes? The benefits of different size events. How to market to get a good turnout, because no one wants to come to an event of 3. Things to avoid and lessons I've learned, and then how to utilize your business partners. I think we use the word vendors a lot, but to be quite frank, they're business partners. You're trusting them, you're giving them business, they're in business back with you. Okay, so to get started, you have to kind of rhetorically ask yourself a few questions. One, you need to start small. Do not, if you've never thrown a large scale event, don't pick a large scale event to throw off the bat. These are your learning phases, right? Like you don't just run a marathon, you got to start with like a 3K. So start small. We'll talk about some of those events that you can kind of start with. Who is your client base? Like who are you trying to attract? If you're not doing any events, don't try to schedule one every quarter. Start maybe with like 1 or 2 a year so that you can not get so overwhelmed, because then it's one of those things where you just won't keep repeating if it stresses you out so much. And then allocating a budget, like what is reasonable? That's partially going to be dependent on how many clients you're trying to invite or you're trying to attract. What's reasonable within the scale of your own business? Like how much money do you make in a year from real estate? Like, your budget might not be the same as my budget, or my budget might not be the same as Redux, when they have, 1,200 transactions a year and I'm looking at 100 transactions a year. So things like that, like really make sure that it's a percentage of where you're at and then where you're trying to go. Okay. I'm super type A, a little OCD. Planning is everything. If you are going to throw an event for clients, the best way to attract them to come back and to also use that to then market to other clients is the details, okay? You have to have the planning. 1, it will help you not get so overwhelmed, and 2, it's just going to help it go off without a hitch and make it look good. Think about when you guys go to a party, like what are the things you think the host should have done better? What are the things where were the holes? What could you have filled in, or what would you have? So each year I pick the dates for the following year. So right now we do 5 very targeted events, and then we usually add in about 3 or 4 random small ones off the cuff as we feel that we have the energy to do so. But 5 we commit to every year in advance. Add in where you can smaller. With working with your business partners, create a tiered sponsorship form. So again, like what are you giving them to be a part of the sponsors? What are they getting out of it? This is important for a number of reasons, partially the business relationship and you're defining it so they understand what they're getting, but also just from a purpose of covering liabilities and tax things. So create a tiered sponsorship. For example, it could be like your platinum sponsor is $1,000 donation, your gold sponsor is $750 or whatever it is, depending on what type of event you do. So for example, for our ice skating event, we usually have about 45 to 50 clients, and we know that the tickets will cost about $800. Then we do donuts and coffee. This is our easiest, simple event. I'll talk about it in a little bit. But our top sponsorship is going to be like $800. And then we just go down from there. And then give your vendors something tangible. So when you create this, make sure it's like a PDF that you can send to them so that they understand what they're getting. And you can talk about like what type of visual are they going to have representing them at the party? Are they going to be on the invitation? Are they going to be on the thank you letter? Or is there going to be a table for them to put out things? Is there going to be signage? Like, how does that work? And then will you have different vendors for each event, or do you have the same vendors every event you throw? Those are questions you have to ask yourself. Then for each party, we pick a theme. A theme to me is helpful. It doesn't have to be like, Star Wars, but like when you pick a theme, whatever it is, like every year we do the same 5 parties, but I change up what it's going to look like. So it's always interesting, and people want to see what's coming next. So pick your theme. Create an idea board, create a Google sheet so that you start jotting down the things that you have to do to get that theme off the ground and really make it inviting for people. Pinterest is a great place to just get ideas from. You have to remember a lot of these people that post, it's like literally all they do. So try not to get too much integrated down into the weeds. Where are you having it? Melissa mentioned, like, I entertain a lot in my home, which helps with our costs and our fees, to be honest. But if you don't have that comfort that you want to invite people into your home, or you don't have the space for it, you need to pick out space rentals and figure out where you're planning it. The easiest ones, ice skating, ice skating rink, pumpkin patch, Cox Farms, or one of the other, Great Country Farms or whatever. But the space rental is going to eat up a lot of your budget. So that's something that you want to know up front before you get anywhere further into the planning process. Is there any additional vendors that you need? Caterer, DJ, photographer, plan your decor, go back to Pinterest. I'm a stats person, a tracking person, so I use Google Sheets for pretty much everything. So I will literally put in like, okay, I need the DJ. This is their price. This is where I need to confirm by. These are the deposits I've made. The more organized you are, the easier it's going to be the second time you go to repeat the event. That's the other thing I should mention is try not to reinvent the wheel every year. Create your staple events, and it gets much easier year after year after year. Create your sponsor request form per event. Connect with your sponsors and ask for their commitment. And do that well in advance. You have to remember, just like any other business, your sponsors probably allocate a marketing budget earlier on in the year. So even if you're not doing your event until December, get to them in January or February, or even better, November or December of the previous year, so that they know and they can truly commit to you before they've committed to all the other things. Create your invitation. How are you going to do that? Are you doing email? Are you doing paper? Are you doing text? Or are you doing all three? And then, in my opinion, swag. You always have to have swag. And every party I throw, the swag is different. It's generally in some type of way in relation to the party, but not always. So, for example, our pool party one year, we gave these because that way people could use them at the party and they didn't have to worry about plastic or glass around the pool. So things like that. Okay. So how many parties is enough? The first half of the year, so we do ice skating in February. We do the Derby whatever day, the first weekend of May that the Derby schedules it for. Then we do a pool party in August. These are our absolutes. In January, we mail out a events list for the whole year. So we usually do magnets. So it'll say February 5th, ice skating, Derby, May 4th, pool party, August 23rd, Cox Farms, October 17th, And then we have a Santa breakfast and the cocktail party. Every single one of those, the dates are predetermined, and we mail it out in January so that they know to schedule. One of the worst things is like when you're planning these big events and some of your favorite clients are like, oh, shoot, I just bought tickets to the Polar Express train, or something like that. And if they had known in advance, they would have scheduled around it. For me, events are a fun way for me to unleash a creative side. I work a lot in real estate, and sometimes I just want to do something that's not real estate related. I'm kind of antsy. I have a hard time sitting down, so this is just a little way for me to blow off steam. But they also create an opportunity to reach out to clients 3 or more times without it ever being real estate related. No one's upset when they're getting invited to a party. Right? Like one of my favorite quotes of all time is by Winnie Pooh, and it's like, no one was uncheered by a balloon. All clients receive an email invite to each party. Our top 300 receive a personal text invite. Our top 100 receive a personal invite, a phone call, and sometimes we do a pop-by depending on what it is. And that pop-by will be theme related. So, for example, the Derby, they might get like 2 roses with like a little and dropped on their doorstep or something like that.
Hey, Lauren.
Yeah.
When you say your top 300 or top 100, are you talking about you've targeted those people and put them in certain tiers based on number of referrals, number of transactions, both?
Yeah, both, and also number of referrals, how often they are engaged too, and I find that you have your ringers. They might not always be like the people that have transacted the most often, or they haven't transacted or given you the most referrals, but they're always there to show up, and you need those people. Like you might be like, man, they haven't given me a referral, but they've been to 4 parties. Guess what? You need them. You need bodies there, to be honest. Like you need people to make the party look more lively. So sometimes those are the ringers will show up, even though they might not be your most highest producing return. You need them there for the look of it, honestly. So then we do our pumpkin patch. At our pumpkin patch, we do, or let me go back a little bit and I'll break down our event. So at our ice skating event, it's the easiest. We do ours at Reston Town Center. So basically, you call them in advance. We don't do a private rink rental. It's our least, it's our least expensive party for sure. And to me, they don't know anybody anyway. So if it's a stranger on the ice or another stranger that was invited by us on the ice, they don't really notice. So I don't really feel the need to pay the money to rent out the rink. And so we just call the ice skating rink. We pre-book the tickets so that I know we won't get sold out and then have somebody show up and we don't have a ticket for them. I will say I always get more than less. You'll always have less people, you'll have some people not come. You always have fallout, even though they RSVP'd. And then you'll always have 1 or 2 be like, oh, I thought I RSVP'd. So I try to always buy a few more, something like that when it's ticket-based. I try to buy a few more than I'll need, and that's just cost of sale, essentially. We just do donuts and coffee. Dunkin' Donuts, coffee, that's it. It's the easiest. It's a morning of thing. I print out the tickets in advance. So that's honestly for me, it's partially because it's right after the holidays. We're all exhausted. And I originally started doing it in January. It was my first event that I ever did. And that was easy. Now that we do huge holiday parties in December, I've pushed it to the end of February because I'm like, oh, I need a break. I just saw everybody. The Derby started as our biggest party. The first time we did it was 2022. It was right after we remodeled our house. And I had talked about doing it a couple of times, but to be honest, what always hindered me from even committing to doing it was where do I do it? So if you can entertain in your home, I will tell you it's a lot easier. It's harder because it's your home and you have to clean it up and all of those things, but you have a lot more time to prep in advance versus walking into a party hall the morning of, because I would never agree to pay for the day before. So then it's just a lot of stress, in my opinion, and also it raises your costs quite a bit. So for our Derby party, we have it catered. We have a DJ. Partially, I'll tell you why, is I want them to call out the race stuff, and I don't want to have to do that. We have about 110 people come to our derby party, so it's just unrealistic that I can get on the mic that often. We always do shout outs to our vendors, our platinum and sponsors, our platinum and diamond sponsors get called out on the mic. All of our other sponsors have sponsorship signs around the event. They're bigger for however much money they gave. They're smaller depending on if they're just like a $250 or $500 donation. To be honest, for my derby party, the smallest donation I would take was $500. Entrance is important when you're coming to a party. So the video I played at the beginning, we do a ton of party installations. And so we generally have a red carpet out on the driveway. We usually have cocktails ready for people to grab on their way in. So it's not just like they're walking into the front door and then into the party. It's like the party starts when they get out of the car. Then we do a pool party. This is family oriented. So family oriented, adults only, family oriented. We get a lot of people that actually are like, oh my gosh, it's nice to have a reason to get a babysitter and get dressed up and come out. And we're very clear also just from a liability standpoint on our invitations. It always says, leave your keys and your kids at home. So we are serving alcohol. There's an open bar. From a liability standpoint, don't show up at my house, drink, and then plan to leave. So things like that you want to take into consideration also, especially when you're having large groups, and an open bar. I mentioned we have a caterer, we do have bartenders, and we do have service staff at that event. Everything is always a buffet. At our derby and our Christmas party, we do carving stations, so they're more elevated for sure. Our other ones are a little bit more comfortable, I would say. So then in August, we actually do 2 pool parties. One is advertised and one isn't. We call the unadvertised party our frat party. And that is for the people that are like kind of closer to us. They are clients. We do invite friends also. But these are people that are definitely have become more of our inner circle. We love a theme. So there are Jell-O shots and those sorts of things. That's our personality, me and my husband. Obviously, my point to saying these things is find something that you like to do regardless, and then work off of that. So, that might not be your thing, but my husband and I have 4 kids, and if we get a minute to act like we're 22 years in, we're going to do it. So at our client pool party, this is one of the backdrops we created. Now, I'll be honest, the first time we did the balloon backdrops, I hired somebody, and then I decided I didn't want to spend that much money, so I YouTubed how to do it. And so now I make all of our balloon backdrops. So again, I'm pretty frugal. I like to spend money on parties, but I'm pretty frugal where I can cut costs because they can get extravagant. Kind of going back to one of the questions you asked me before, our derby for us, we spend probably about $10K. So it's not a light event, but like our ice skating party is like $1,200. Our pool party is like $1,200. But there's like our 3 parties that are big and expensive. And one of the other questions that Melissa asked me was like, how do you quantify the return? So to me, events aren't the strategy; they are part of the strategy. It's how we engage with clients time and time again. It goes in addition to our Raving Fans program. It goes in addition to our Pop By program. It goes in addition to my commenting on their social media. Oh my gosh, I can't believe your kids are getting so big, and all of those things. But time is the most expensive quantity that I cannot get back. And so events are one of those ways that in 3 or 4 hours, I can reach a lot of people all at once. And to me, having them in my home is even more intimate than in a rental space. I think for starters, people who haven't been to their agent's home kind of always want to know what it looks like. So I think you attract kind of the nosy people, and that's okay because it makes them come. We're inside their houses all the time. And so they're like, I want to see what their house looks like. And so I do think you actually get more of a return on that and more engagement. So our pool party, We try to keep it easy, very themed. So like, our water jug is going to be like pool water, and like we do a ton of like candy stuff for the kids. So we might get the Twizzlers, the colored Twizzlers, and be like, grab a floaty, and like just kind of like go on Pinterest and just find like what you would do for a kid's party. And then that's light. It's like hot dogs, chips. I always try to have like a non-meat option for vegetarians. We have Kona Ice come, so there's about 30 minutes where Kona Ice pulls up. We always tell the clients in advance because it's a 2 to 5 party, and we always say, okay, Kona Ice is going to come at 3:30, so that if they can't be there the whole time, they'll try to be there around the Kona Ice truck. So they'll come pull up in our driveway, easy, no mess in my house. Everyone eats it outside. But it's the draw, right? It's the effect, like, oh my God, like this big ice cream truck is coming and pulling up. Whatever you can do that's relatively inexpensive, that's going to create a big impact, is going to be your best bang for your buck. And a Kona ice truck, to be honest, they charge you per, so like they'll charge you like $100 pull-up fee, and then they just charge you per cup. So it's really not expensive. You would think it is, but like I did a whoopie pie truck one year, and that was like $450, and let me tell you, I never did it again. I don't even like whoopie pies. Cox Farms, that is definitely not as expensive as the Ruby or the Christmas parties, but it is an expense depending on how many clients you have. Now, there's 3 different ways you can do a pumpkin patch party. You can just buy tickets for your clients, meet them outside, give them the ticket, and they're in for you, and you've spent the $40 on the ticket or $20, whatever it is. Or you can rent a pavilion. And depending on what size of pavilion, you get a certain amount of tickets with it. Cox Farms has become so popular, it has gotten more expensive over the years. And one of the things that will probably lead to my demise is that every year I try to up my game. And so, so it's like, I don't need that, but I want it, and then I do it. But it goes to brand, right? Like for me, it goes to brand. So the pumpkin patch, so this year, we did, within the Cox Farms event, we also had family mini sessions. So we had our pavilion, we had set up our photographer. I created this whole backdrop. I actually made it. Pretty much all of our backdrops we make. We have our handyman make or we make. This was me. I hot glued all of these things on at like 6:30 the day of our party. And then I had my friend Stager come and just set up all of the stuff for the backdrop for the mini session. We got a huge turnout on this pumpkin patch. I think we had like 125 RSVPs. And I think that's people, not groups. And I think we had like 30 families sign up for the mini session. The great thing about mini sessions and incorporating them either as an event or into an event is you have something to send to them afterwards that they're getting. And the Cox Farm one was great because a lot of people used it for the Christmas card. So I saw a lot of people posting that to Facebook and also sending it out on their Christmas card. So the biggest parties for me that are the hardest, detail-oriented, are the Santa breakfast and our holiday cocktail party. There's no way to get around it. Santa breakfast is obviously denominational. Our holiday cocktail party, we call it a holiday cocktail party so that it's not, Christmas party or something like that. So we reach a lot more people, especially in the Northern Virginia area. We have so many different backgrounds and cultures. So I'll be honest, we still have a lot of clients come that don't even celebrate Christmas, but it's just fun. It's just a fun event. So this is my living room. I transform it into Santa Village. Now, don't let this overwhelm you. You can start with just have a Santa and a Santa breakfast. Like I said, I'm a little extra, a little type A. So I had to up my game and up myself just for my own. I have 12 Christmas trees. They're all decorated. I decorate them. If you had one, it would be okay. But there's a reason I'm teaching this class. I challenge anybody to have more Christmas trees than I do.
I definitely want to see that.
And they're yet to be broken down. So if you want me to send you a screenshot, a picture later. No, they're coming down. They're coming down. So Santa breakfast, we rent a Santa, so that's a cost. We have a caterer, do pancakes, waffles, French toast, eggs, I tend to stay away from finger foods like bacon because there's already syrup traveling around my house with kids. Last year in 2022, we did decorate your own cookie as a craft. And then this year, I didn't want to deal with the icing, so we did decorate your own ornament, but with no glitter. And there was no glue either. So honestly, where I find these things is I go on Amazon and in the search bar, type in like Santa breakfast or type in ornament and just watch what pops up. I think Amazon search bar is so underutilized, and that's where actually I find a lot of the stuff. So it's really important always at these events too to have integrators, have like at Cox Farms, obviously they have a ton to do, but we also offer at the table like coloring books or something like that, just to give the parents a break if they want to eat. We always have catered food too. So we have barbecue at our pumpkin patch, Santa breakfast. I talked about we have like waffles, pancakes, whatever. We also, it's the holidays and these are parents. So we have a mimosa bar, we have a coffee bar with Irish coffees available. And then the holiday cocktail is, I love so much. Last year, it was so awesome. I set my house on fire. Just a little fire. Just had to re-drywall my dining room. So it's a true story. There's a video. Leave it to the millennial to be like, we set the house on fire. Everyone else is looking for the fire extinguisher. She's like videoing it. So use your own personal life to shape your events around. It will become more natural. It'll feel better for you. So these are things I would probably do anyway, whether they were for clients or for just friends and neighbors. And so it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to do the effort, like let's go next level and let me just up the game a little bit. A lot of these, we do still invite neighbors and friends, not all of them, but the ones that we think we're going to convert, to be honest, and the ones we like. Holiday cocktail is by far our fanciest food menu. That's like carved beef station, crab cakes. What else do we serve? Every adult event has a themed cocktail list. So for our Derby event, for example, we had Run for the Races, and we had some type of like 4 roses or the final rose, right? And things like that. So people like, or I do anyway, and I assume people do, like they like those little details. They matter because they show that you've really invested yourself, and that's what people talk about. And as I put here, if it feels like you, the more you will enjoy it and the more you will attract others to the event. People work with you. They've gotten to know your personality. This is where you can like really let it out. Other event ideas, wine night. So these are some of these we actually do incorporate. So we do a wine night with some of our top clients and also the people that might not want to go to a party with 100 people, but they might like wine. They might be a little more introverted. So we do a wine night, roller skating, photo mini sessions are good. You could always do an Easter bunny photo session. I've yet to incorporate that, but that's because we do the Derby in May and I just can't. You could do a pool park or like Lake Fairfax or what's the other one in Burke, something like that where you can rent out a space. For a while we did Lake Fairfax and I would get a balloon artist and a face painter. For me, there's no alcohol that you can serve at a Fairfax County park, so we quit that real quick. Movie nights. So we've done Friday night movie nights where like in September where it's like not too hot and not too cold, bring a lawn chair. We have a massive blow up TV screen that we put in our yard. And then like your swag for that event could be one of those like reusable picnic blankets. So if anything that I can like theme out swag on, I'm like, oh, I could throw that in. And then that's easy. You just make popcorn. You could rent one of those little popcorn things for the driveway or something. So it doesn't even have to be in the house. And then you haven't invested so much that if it rains out, you can just cancel the event and it is what it is. We've teetered around with doing, like even just s'mores with like a fire pit out on the driveway. Again, it's more just about creating the invite. You could do a movie night. A lot of people do you can like rent out the local theaters and do that. I know a couple, I've never done it, but I know a couple of people who have. You can also, like, Reston has a couple of places you can rent out. I know that. Trivia night, I know a lot of people like that. You could do that. And actually, one of the things we did during COVID was a scavenger hunt. There's like a couple of apps you can download. And so, like, you don't have to host anybody, but everyone has to like engage and send photos. And so you could create a list of different things they have to find around Northern Virginia, and give them like a set day or time to do it. And then that's probably one of the easiest events you could do. And then obviously have prizes. Okay, my process, and I think I've talked a lot about this, but like I immediately need to be like, okay, for me personally, I need to be like, okay, how much money am I spending on this? And I have to have a hard line that I will definitely cross. Is it for family or adults? I'm sorry. How many RSVPs do we expect to get? Always underestimate what you think. I can tell you, you're not going to get as many as you think, especially the first couple of times. What kind of food and beverage am I serving? Am I doing alcohol? If you're in your home, you don't. But if you're at a different event space, do you need a separate license for that? Like, you might need a license if you're at a special event space that doesn't normally have their own license. And you can get those. You just have to apply with Fairfax County. Is there any location fees? Are there parameters? You need to discuss all that up front. Think about it as if you're planning a wedding, just on a very smaller scale. Like, all those questions still apply. And then the date and the time. Like, I think about it when it comes to date and time. Like, okay, how many people that you're inviting have sports? Like, what's the youth sports situation? Now, you can't plan around that because everyone has different times. But if you're trying to attract families, you need to consider time of year. And then for creating conceptualization, I go to Pinterest, Etsy. Always have to have the wow factor. You have to have the thing that people aren't expecting. Because that's what, like, they walk up and they go, okay, it creates the tone. Envisioning the flow. How is it going to work? For us, I talked about like activities for the kids. Even at our derby party, we have trivia throughout because it helps people and creates people to engage. It gives them an opportunity to not be in an awkward conversation. I'm telling you, you can clearly see how much I hate awkward conversations. But it really does lighten the mood a little bit. So for the derby, we do a couple of different games. So everyone gets a horse name when they walk in. They have to, like, you can go on Etsy and there's a chart for their birthday month and whatever their first name is, and it tells them what their horse name would be. And then that's the name tag they wear around the party. And then there's a bingo. So you have to find certain names that go with the horse names. And then we have how many people can guess the right trivia. And they're all played at like on the hour. So like the party starts at 3. At 4 o'clock, we're going to do bingo. At 4:30 or 5 o'clock, we're going to do this. And then it's the derby. And then to wrap up the party, this is the final thing. And throughout the event, people are winning. We do a bourbon tasting contest. So whoever gets the most right, guesses the most bourbons, it's a blind tasting, gets a prize. So we have 5 prizes throughout our derby event. We do best hat for women and we do best dress for men. We've tried to steer away from ranking people on best dress for women. It seems like a dangerous endeavor, so we go with best hat. So envisioning the flow, like how does that all pan out? How do you keep it moving, especially when you're just doing a cocktail party for 3 or 4 hours? Like, what are you doing? During our Christmas party, we actually start a contest of we do a round of the 12 days of Christmas, and we divide people into groups so they might not know who's in their group, and then whoever sings the loudest most correctly gets a prize. So again, like integrating the group, it sounds lame, but when you're there, it's a lot of fun. Because normally I would roll my eyes at party games. Like, I hate bridal showers where I have to like do stuff, but it does help. Thinking about what I like about the parties I attend and what I don't like. And the more you reflect on those things, the more you'll create a great event. Going back to execution, contacting your sponsors with the idea, the information, and the expectations so that they can get on board with you. Finalizing your budget. Create your marketing collateral. It's not just what you're sending out, but what you're going to have there and what you're going to do after. Sending your invites and collecting RSVPs. I've done this a bunch of different ways. Eventbrite is obviously the easiest. Creating my design board, and then I almost always, have at least 2 or 3 people helping me with like the actual execution the week leading up or the day of. Pro tip, get all your liquor at the Costco in DC. It's way cheaper and they have actual brands. Rent supplies as you need it. I personally don't like to continue to spend money on things year over year. So for example, if it's branded, it's 100% deductible. So I have 750 glasses in my house that are branded with my company on it versus having to rent 150 glasses year over year from Capital Party Rentals. And that adds up. So yeah, it's an upfront cost, but now it's there. And I have 150 martini glasses, 150 rocks glasses, 150 highball glasses, 150 wine glasses. And so one, it's a high-end look. I personally don't like to serve with plastic. I think it just immediately lowers the image. 2, it's not great for our environment, and I didn't know I was going to become a hippie in my 40s. And 3, it's a cost year over year over year, and it's expensive actually. So we do glassware, and yes, I take up a decent amount of storage in my house, but it's worth it. Have a time plan out. So arrival time. How do you get through that first 30, 45 minutes where everyone's arriving, you're taking coats, you're saying hi, and all of a sudden you're saying hi again. So have a plan. Hopefully you have some people that maybe work with you, or if you're an agent that maybe doesn't do as much business, maybe join with a couple of other agents and do an event. So you could do that as well. But time everything out. So we literally have an itinerary. We don't blast it, but we have an itinerary internally that we are like, oh, okay, it's time, we got to do this. And somebody's always in charge of like that one thing. So that if you get caught up, it's like, oh, nope, I'm in charge of this one. I gotta go. And then sometimes we do publish the itinerary. So for example, like Breakfast with Santa, where Santa might sit down and read a story. We're going to tell people arrival at 9, Santa's going to read at 9:30, 10 o'clock, you guys can whatever, but like they need to know what time Santa's events are happening. And then feedback and refinement. So literally 2 or 3 days after the event, I'm sitting back down at my computer and I'm like, okay, what went well? What didn't I like? What went wrong? Because by the time the next year comes around, I might not implement the things that I wanted to change if I haven't taken notes on them.
Purchase 5 fire extinguishers.
I got those for Christmas 3 days. Oh, well, we had a fire extinguisher. Funny enough, if you don't shake it every 2 months, they go bad. So another pro tip, there's spray cans. So we had the fire extinguisher within about 5-foot radius of where the fire happened. It didn't work. So then we just got a bunch of wet towels and threw it on the plastic Christmas tree that went up in flames. Absolutely always. Custom invite each year. I never use the same invite, even if it's the same party. Always a theme. It doesn't have to be like super crazy, but you have to, whether it's a color or like even just a vision of a thought or like a feel. Like I want it to feel like Frank Sinatra or like the 40s. It doesn't have to be super specific, but it has to have a feel. Theme cocktails. Everyone loves them. Open bar. You'll get the most, you will get the most RSVPs. Yeah. Photo backdrops. Give people a place to take a good photo. Photo props, depends on the party. Custom decor for the theme. So for example, for our derby party, I have 300 roses that I hand create all of the bouquets around the house. So there is not a surface or table that is it doesn't have roses on it. The bathroom, the bars, the food display, everything. There's just roses everywhere. The wow factor, these kind of all go into it. But again, going back to how you create the event for our holiday cocktail party, you saw the big Santa stop here sign. Well, we took that out of the Christmas Village. We put it at the end of our driveway. It served two purposes. One, no one parked there. And two, we had a whole fence and they had to walk through it. When they walked through it, then there was like a little thing that says cookies for Santa, but it had a cocktail bar on it. And so they hadn't even gotten up to my front walkway, and they had gone through an experience, grabbed a cocktail, and then were walking a red carpet to get to my front door. Not expensive. Like, you're talking like $150, and you just created such a wow factor. And I used it in 2 events. So really now it was only $50. It's party math. Group activities to keep guests engaged, whether it's kids or, and kids ones especially too, to be honest, because it gives the parents a break. So we did, for the Christmas Santa breakfast, we did sticker parties for like the younger kids who might not be able to have the fine motor skills, but then the older kids could make an ornament. And then there was also painting and then just felt ones. So like it's an array of ages, and the parents can just sit there and it doesn't matter, and they can have their mimosa. Party swag is an absolute. And to be honest, it should be branded. If you're going to pay for it, brand it. Custom event signage, that goes back to your sponsors. Catered food, honestly, if you work with the right caterer, and I'm happy to recommend mine, he's cheaper than if I went to Costco and got all the ingredients, to be honest. Exceptional service throughout. An array of options for drinks, whether it's, non-alcoholic, soda water, cocktails, wine, beer, etc. I try to never do the same thing twice. So I'm going to try and change it up. I'll do the same party twice or 10 times, but I'm going to recreate something somehow. And then invite great guests. Like, there are people that don't get invited. Like, I text my assistant, I'm like, let's remove this person from the event list, because they're just not going to be the person that's helping elevate the party. They're going to distract from it. And then always encourage some of your top clients to bring a friend. Not every client, because some are just moochers, but like some of them are going to be the people that help you grow just through these events. Okay. I love this quote. The devil is in the details. Oh, how do you get that away? How do you get that thing away? But the devil is in the details, but so is salvation. Truly, this is the Kona ice truck. And the differentiator between a normal everyday party and an event is the details behind it. So for our pool party, for example, we blow up we have 100 of these little floating koozies. I lose good 10, 15 each year because some kid wants to take it with them. Fine, let them take it with it. Then their parent every time is like, oh, we got that from Lauryn. We do 25 pool floats that we sit out at. We have a pool, so it makes it a little easier. But just all of the fun things that they can use during the event as well. We have fun sunglasses with all the different random things, just things people want to pick up and have fun with. Amazon, you can get a lot of these things for $20, $30. It's not super expensive, but it does make an impact. So it's my husband and I, and then I'm the party planner, and he's the chief of get shit done. And then, so just resources, you can follow me at Living in Reston. And actually, because my husband and I have started creating a lot of these life-size installations, we actually have just started a side business. So you can go to our website, which is a little bit, it's not quite as elevated as it needs to be. I haven't really launched it yet, so you guys will be the first. But we rent out all of our party backdrops. So we have drink walls, cheers walls. If I can get back to the main.
Where do you store all those things?
In my garage and a storage unit. So this, my daughter is actually the one serving the champagne. It's a class act if we are. So basically, that was my ex-husband. So this is our derby party, obviously. So there's the cocktails. So this is a ring for champagne wall, and you ring it, and then somebody pops out with the champagne in it. again, all about the entrance, right? So this was, my son took the bets, and my daughter served the champagne. She's 11. But you can see like the backdrop. So anyway, we started doing that because we were like, oh, well, if people start to use them and rent them out, then we won't have to store them as much. So do you guys have any questions?
When do you work?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what hours does this?
Yeah, like I'm exhausted just looking at it.
So it's actually not as, I work about 90 hours a week on real estate. So last year I did 62 transactions myself, and then my team, aka husband, we did another 25. So I definitely work a lot in real estate. To me, it's the hour where you're sitting in bed instead of playing like triple match, which I do love, by the way. Like, but instead of playing a game, just write down your thoughts. Or like, I use voice to text, like, hey Siri, a lot. Like, hey Siri, open a new note. And as I'm driving, and start thinking through those. I don't listen to podcasts, so maybe that's my extra time that I use to do this. But to me, it's all about the planning. I will say the day of the event, I have to block off. Just to get all the details and the decor set up. It would be wise of me to delegate, but I'm a little bit too anal retentive for that. So I've just taken on that those are like my time I just dedicate. But you're not going to start on the derby party. Like, that would be like, instead of buying your first house, you're buying like Trump Towers, like you're not going to start there, but like start with ice skating, start with pumpkin patch, start with something where the details are almost covered for you by the event space.
You've already done it, so you can.
Yeah, and I have a ton of stuff, and so then every year I might just add a few more things, or just like a different food display or something like that. Yeah, but a lot of it is more just the layout than anything, right? Like where you put the food, how you lay it out, like those things matter. But start small. Ice skating, donuts and coffee. Yeah. And then for your ice skating event and things like that, your signage is really important, right? Like how are you representing your sponsors?
Lauryn, will you talk a little bit about, for anyone that maybe is intimidated by the larger events, some of the small, more intimate things that you do? Like I remember recently, I think we were talking, and you mentioned something about a dinner party that you held where you very intentionally and strategically selected people that you felt would benefit from knowing each other. And
right.
Threw them all in the room together, and that's much smaller.
Yeah, so that's an easy one, right? Easy relative, but like it is easier, right? Even if you just did a private dinner at like Cooper's Hawk or something and just got one of their side rooms, invite people that you've already had conversations with, and then I'm sure you have other clients. So if I have clients that I know are in the State Department and they've been all over the world, invite other people who have traveled a lot, because they've probably been to some of the same places, and it's just going to be an easy conversation. You don't have to hold the whole time. People where their kids are maybe into really into sports, like invite a couple of them, or just have like wine enthusiasts, like there are some, or bourbon enthusiasts, or whatever it is. I mean, people that like to craft. You could always do those sign places where you invite a couple of moms and you guys make the signs for the home. There's a couple of those around the area. You could do the make your candle thing. You could do a Mother's Day event where you invite all your moms for an event to Kendra Scott. They put all the displays out for you. They'll even, like, if you don't know this, Kendra Scott will actually put out the little eatery stuff. They'll serve bubbles for you, and then you can offer like certain things that are at that you pay for maybe. Like, and you could always invite all of your moms, or you can invite your top tier moms. I wouldn't do it I would do it more like in April as like a pre-Mother's Day, just because May gets really heavy for people with graduations and all of that sort of stuff. So do it like April, March, but just push it towards your moms. You could do a bowling night, which are actually a lot of fun. Or you could do like cosmic bowling. That's easy. You don't have to really do anything other than pay for, like, maybe you offer like pretzels to everybody or something, you know, like the big pretzels. But the ambiance and everything is already there. So then you don't have to do that. So you could use those sorts of things. Movie theater night, those are easy. Not a ton of extra detail work on your part. You can do potlucks. So I haven't done this yet. It's actually on my idea board for next year. But we want to do an around the world dinner where it's actually a potluck, and all of our clients bring a food of their tradition or their culture, whatever their choice is. And so then it's a potluck. Bring a dish for like 15 or 20 people, or depending on how big of a group you're going to have. So then you're not having to worry about the food, and you could just do little cute ambiance things. Like, for us, we were going to divide up each room in our house and make it a continent. And so, like, you know, like if whatever food you brought, if it's from this traditional continent, like it goes in that room. So, I mean, even just like little details like that are free and not hard, those are what make a party, right? So, and also, again, you don't have to pay for the food. So just everyone bring, and then have swag. Always pay for the swag. It's the biggest thing. It's what they leave with. And we tried to decorate it in some fashion. So, for example, for our pool party, we did pool towels and waterproof phone cases one year. We've done, for our ice skating party, we did handled insulated coffee mugs with hot cocoa and marshmallows inside. So things like that. I'm trying to think of what else. Does that answer?
This isn't specifically event-oriented, you know, event-specific, but I'm sure everyone in the room would appreciate hearing about this. Talk about your raving fan program.
Yeah, so I'll be honest, I stole it from Sarah Reynolds, who probably stole it from somebody else. But basically what we do is anybody that's given us a referral, they go for 6 months, they go into our Raving Fans program. For every referral they give us, they get re-entered into the Raving Fans program for another 6 months. A referral isn't just like, hey, I gave your name to Jessica. You have to create the introduction. They don't have to ever transact, but you have to create the introduction. So every month we drop off a gift to their doorstep, and it's an assortment of things. Right now I'm on a Lauren's Favorite Things kick. And so these are people that know me, right? They've referred me business. They probably know my character, like my personality. And so I kind of leaned into the fact that they probably appreciate kind of my weird and quirky side. So in November, they all got a Bluetooth-enabled, app-enabled label maker, which, if you know me, makes sense because, right? And they do, right? So so in November, I think we dropped off 10. And then in December, I just happened to be at Home Goods and I found like these really cute, like little cocktail espresso kits with glassware. So they each got one of those. And then what did we do this month? Can't remember, but we'll just like do something quirky, right? Or whatever it is, like something I might find on Amazon. And then we also do that every month. And we keep a spreadsheet of when they entered, who the referral is, and then I love a Google Sheet formula. So like you enter in the date and then it'll tell you what the 6 month mark is and when they fall off. The first time they get a Raving Fans gift, we have a bag, like a jute bag that says thanks for being a Raving Fan. And then from there we have other boxes and bags that we use to drop off, but it's always branded. That's in addition to all of our clients get entered into our birthday and anniversary gift drop-off. So every client gets a birthday gift drop-off, whatever day of the year it is. Every client gets a home anniversary drop-off. I predetermine those at the beginning of the year, so I just have to order every month. I order however many we need of the month. So it's all the same thing. So last year we did these cute little bowls from Amazon. They were $9 for 3 wooden bowls. And I can't tell you how many texts I got about those damn bowls. It was the best purchase of my life. And then for the anniversary gift, we did these little wooden trays. Again, $9. For me, from a scalable standpoint, it can't do a $25 or $50 gift. It's just not scalable. Even for our raving fans, it's most likely under $20.
How do you set that up? Like do you do that on, like how do they know about it?
The raving fans.
Yeah.
So at closing, we give we have branded coffee mugs, and we give our coffee mugs and/or pint glasses and a bottle of champagne, and we put thank you so much for trusting us with your business. Do you want to know about our raving fans program? And there's a letter in there.
Okay.
But most of them just give referrals. They don't even know it until they get the gift. I mean, like they doesn't even.
On a Facebook group or anything like that.
I tried that.
It didn't work.
No, it doesn't work. Or it didn't work for me. And honestly, how many places can I say different things? Like, I'm just not that I'm not that ingenious. Like I have trouble keeping one social media page, let alone like creating duplicate pages. Yeah. And again, that's real estate related and people don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like they care about the gift showing up and oh my God. And you know what's really fun is sometimes if you forget to leave the note, and then they're like, we got a gift on our doorstep. I think it was from you. And I'm like, oh, it was. See? Like if you don't leave the note, sometimes they're like, wait, who sent me flowers? I didn't send flowers, but you know what I mean. Yeah. And they think they know who it is, which is even a better thing, right? They think they know it was me.
Right.
Staying top of mind is correct. Yeah. And that leads to a lot of referrals. So going back to a question you asked me before I even did this presentation is, I can't necessarily say I got this referral because of an event. I do know that it's part of my strategy to stay top of mind in front of clients, for them to remember how awesome they thought I was during the transaction. And when they're speaking to somebody, oh man, you really should use my agent. Most people, first of all, are not programmed to give referrals. I'm the kind of person, like you compliment my hair, I'm like, oh my God, my hairdresser. But most people aren't like that. And so how do you stay on top of their mind with all of the other things they have going on in their life? It's not talking about real estate. It's giving them a reason to talk about you.
Well, it's being in their face more and more too.
Correct. Oh, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, my real estate agent throws this awesome derby party. Oh, my real estate agent invited us to go ice skating, so the kids and I are going to go. Oh, I might be thinking about selling. Oh, you should call my real estate agent. Things like that. That's the things that people want to talk about.
So how many events do you do in a year on average?
Yeah, so I do 5 musts.
A minimum and a max to always have that top of mind.
Yeah, so first of all, I started doing the ice skating event probably about 12 years ago, and I always do it, always. Once you start, in my opinion, if you're not willing to repeat an event year over year over year, don't start it. The more consistent you are and the more people can learn to expect and rely on it. Like a lot of clients come to that because they know their kids are going to want to go ice skating during this time of year, and they're like, we'll just wait for Circadian's event, right? So you want people to learn to rely on it. So we do 5 musts: ice skating, derby, pool party, Cox Farms, Santa breakfast, and the holiday cocktail party. Now, most people think I'm absolutely insane, but the Santa breakfast and the holiday cocktail party are on the same day. I would rather be tired once than do it twice.
Do people come twice to your house?
They do. So we have about 90 people for the Santa breakfast, and we have about 100 and so for the cocktail party. And and also the great thing is the parents are like, I just did this for you, and now I'm doing this for me. And they actually don't feel as bad leaving. They're like, well, you just had an amazing Santa breakfast, and now I'm out for cocktails tonight. So it's exhausting, but it would be exhausting to do one event. I might as well just be doubly exhausted and survive on Celsius. Yeah. So 5 are absolutes. we pre-market them from the get-go. In January, everybody knows the date of every event that's coming up that year. Holds me accountable, to be quite frank, and they can change up their schedule if they need to, if it's an event that they really want to attend. And then we throw in extras. So wine night, s'mores and movie night, frat party, maybe like a cocktail, like we'll do a dinner with like maybe 6 clients here or there, or like clients that we know will get along really well, or, oh, hey, AJ introduced us to Fabiana and Jeremy, and like, let's go out with them, and then let's invite, this one other couple, and we'll all go out together. One of the questions you asked me was one to many or one to one. I do very, very, very few one-to-ones. Very few. I have 4 kids in 2 different states. I work about 90 hours a week, and it's just not a good use of my time, honestly. That became unscalable with like my 3rd kid. So I do, and those are integrated, to be honest, like some of those 6 to 6, like, the 6-person events, those are really integrated into my social life as a whole. Like, I don't have a separate social life from those type of interactions, if that makes sense.
You said you had a dollar limit that you always
go over.
So for the smaller events, how is it like on a per person basis? Is it like $25 per person? How do you think of it in terms of the price?
Yeah, so ice skating, for example, that's going to be, I haven't even checked the prices for this year, but let's say that's $20 a ticket, right? And then Cox Farms is, I think, $20 an entrance fee. So those are obvious. And then I personally, everybody in my database, except for the do not invite this person. So we're sending out probably 750 to 800 email invites. But then I have, like I said, my top 300 and my top 100 that I'm really going to target. Or somebody I haven't seen in a while. And I'm like, shoot, then I'm going to target that person because I want to re-engage them. But I'm not, and now actually I just added this in this year is, I found a really good text service that one of the reasons I had never mass texted is I didn't like that it came from another phone number. So actually in December I found and signed up for a new text service app where you only send one at a time, but it duplicates them. So you can send 90 in 90 seconds. So you can reach a lot of people all at once, and it comes from your phone number.
Is that on your CRM or just a separate thing?
No, it's a separate app on my phone. Yeah, there's 2 that I found that I really liked, Hit 'em Up and Reach. So again, you can't send it in one bulk for a number of reasons, and you wouldn't really want to, but it makes it so easy to duplicate. And it's not just copy paste. Like you can upload a list. So you can upload a CRV.
Of the phone numbers.
Uh-huh. Yep.
But it's not going to say their name. It's just.
Nope. You can program it to say their name. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can upload the CRV and it'll literally say, "Hi, Julie, we're having this event and I thought of you." Okay. And then you hit send and it goes to, "Hi, Mark."
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But that being said, I don't use that always just for events. Like I would do that for maybe the top 300, but not 800.
I have a question. How do you deliver your birthday things? Do you have a service that delivers them?
So I have a 21-year-old. I mean, he's not mine by birth. I have a 21-year-old assistant. And also, to be honest, a great way to find them is the next time you're in an Uber and you like the driver, see if you can hire him. Honestly, I tried TaskRabbit and stuff like that in advance before, and I felt like it was really expensive. So this guy I have on salary, and he's in charge of all of my runner needs. So he does my lock boxes, keys, picking up paperwork, whatever. That's not as common, but directional signs. He does all my pop buys, all my drop offs. Sometimes gets my dry cleaning. So honestly, having a runner, the great thing is if you give them enough notice, they can do it on their schedule. So he has a set list. My virtual assistant every Monday and Friday. So on Monday, she sends that week's. On Friday, she sends the next week's. On Monday, she sends that week's. And it keeps going. So he can plan in advance. And it, to me, for me personally, I know some people will just do the drop off in the month. I like for them to get it in the week. So as much as it would be easier for him driving from Fairfax to Aldi and leaving all the Aldi gifts on one day, I don't like the way that looks. I'm sure no one else would care, but I do. So he just drives around, but he can do it any day of the week.
So you get just a gift and you brand it like with the package you deliver to them.
Yeah. So for birthday gifts, it's unbranded because it's actually a birthday gift. And I feel like if it's branded, it doesn't seem as genuine. But it doesn't have to be expensive. The point is the effort and the acknowledgement. And same with the home anniversary gifts. Those are generally not branded. Party swag, always branded. And then also if it's under $25, you can write it off as a client gift. Be honest, most party swag, some of it is under, but when you order it in bulk, it's just easier to write off when it's branded. I was trying to answer your other question, but okay. Anybody?
Wow, thank you. That was great.
Let me know. Oh,
When you do events, like at your house,
yeah.
write an insurance policy.
So I have an extra umbrella policy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You should go to law school.
Most of your events at your house, though, don't you? Outside costs.
The only two that are outside our house are Cox Farm and ice skating. The rest are inside.
And do you get any kind of tax benefit from that?
I do not want to get audited, so I don't try.
I agree.
Some things are just not worth it for me.
I have a comment as opposed to a question, but if you have any thoughts on it, sitting here listening, by the way, Lauren is so good. I've had the pleasure in my career, I have to go to a lot of different events, and I've had the pleasure of attending a number of Lauren's events. And one thing that I teach on in this business in general is whether, and this room is representative, right? We have a bunch of realtors, we have a lender, title. We're a commodity business, whether you like to admit that or not. Right? Like there's 50,000 real estate agents in Virginia. There's any number of lenders and title companies one can choose from. We all look the same, right, on the surface. And I think the expression he used most during his presentation that impacted me was, details. The details. And my own experience is that having attended some of the events, I find that both I and those around me tend to be talking about it. It's got a really long half-life after the event, people just talk about your events, and I think it's in the detail, because let's face it, all these events, they're all commodities as well. Everyone can do an event.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you do it and the thought that you put into it and the details that really makes the difference. And I almost find that metaphorical for all of our businesses in general, because, you all are selling real estate, everyone is making loans, we're all trying to close deals. And again, we all look the same from the outside, but it's the detail that matters and what people are going to be talking about. And I just think that, just creativity and thought that you put into this is a really wonderful way to even look at your business overall.
Mm-hmm. When you were saying that, thank you, by the way. When you were saying that, I actually brought two things I'd never touched on that actually are some of the biggest pet peeves for me when I go to events: lighting and music. Not only the tone of the music, the choice of the music, but actually the volume of the music is really important. There's a time for it to be here and there's a time for it to not be. But lighting is like, I can't tell you how many times I walk into a party, a neighbor's house or an event, and I'm like, people, I am over the age of 40. I am not at my doctor's office. Like, let's bring the lights down. The tonality, the coloring of the lights really matters.
It affects the mood immediately.
I went to a cocktail party once and I couldn't get out of there quick enough because like every light in the kitchen was on.
Change your just off white lighting.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yes, please.
But I mean, but really, like, even, like, it really, lighting matters. Yeah. So, anyway, that was it.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, my pleasure.